This bitch never sat for a bar exam, and here she is trying to say if you criticize the bar exam, then you might not get to practice law because of your character. Well, bitch, I got something to tell you then about your character. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So today's video actually was originally going to be like this long researched out, like documentary style thing, and maybe it still will be. But I was just doing the research for it and I just got so annoyed. So I remember whenever I was about to sit for the bar exam, there was like a lot going on. It was the year 2020. So my bar exam got postponed because we didn't really know what was going on with the whole you know what that I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. But we didn't know what was going on with that whole thing at that time. And so they kept pushing the bar exam back. And a lot of us at that time were saying, like, okay, bar exam, yeah, it's important and all that. But they were like modifying the bar exam. They were putting it online for the first time ever. Like they were doing all kinds of things. And in that time, they were saying, like, you're going to have to take it remotely, but you're going to have to take it remotely on film, right? Like, so you're going to have somebody live watching you on a camera, which in and of itself made me pretty uncomfortable. But then when you add on top of that, they said some people are not going to actually have live proctors. They're going to have AI robots watching them take the test. And if you do certain things while you're taking the test, your test is going to be flagged as if you cheated. And then you may have to answer ethical questions. Now, what were those certain things that you couldn't do at all during the bar exam? One such thing was move your eyes off of the computer screen, right? So I'm sure most people, when they're taking a test that lasts hours and hours long over the course of several days, they might stop what they're doing and maybe look away from the computer screen. And remember, y'all, this test historically has been a written test. Some states here and there would let you go on a computer, but we were the first people ever to take bar exam like this. Okay. And so for people who had disabilities, even, right, where like they were unable to even stare at a computer screen, they were not getting their accommodations. There were people who were pregnant who, if they would have taken the bar exam during the time that it was supposed to be administered, they would have been fine. But 3 or 4 months later, they were like 9 months pregnant during taking the bar. And one thing you couldn't do was stand up and go to the bathroom. Well, I've never been pregnant. I've definitely never been 9 months pregnant. But I can imagine if you have a whole human being sitting on top of your bladder, you might have to go to the bathroom at some point over the course of an entire day. But that I remember this woman talking about this on Twitter. She said, if I get up and leave the room, my bar exam is going to be flagged as if I cheated. And then I'm going to have to answer all these ethics questions. Like basically, they just weren't figuring it out real good. Okay. And all of us had put our whole lives toward this test. Like this was the final thing stopping a lot of us from even being able to work, make money, put our degree to use, go out and help people and all of that. And so it just seemed really unfair the way they were doing it. And so it made us all reconsider what exactly is this bar exam for anyway, right? Like, safety of the public, but don't you think the public will be more safe if the lawyers actually like had a fair chance to take the test? Like all these questions start coming back up. And then I realized how the whole system operates. It was really my first peek into the whole matrix, if you know what I mean. So each state has their own bar exam technically, but if you actually do some looking into the whole thing of it all, most states, I think like at least 30 of them, take this thing called the universal bar exam. And it's universal. So these states like to act like they have this independent, special curated test just for their state. And maybe they do have some specific questions to their state here and there. But the person or the entity, I should say, who writes the test and administers it logistically is not in a state level. It's a nonprofit called NCBE is the short for it, NCBE, but it stands for the National Conference of Bar Examiners. So the National Conference of Bar Examiners, the NCBE, during the time that I was studying for the bar exam, was saying that everybody needed to take a bar exam. Everybody needed to pass the bar exam for the safety of the public and for the whatever of the profession, right? The sanctity of the profession or some crap of the profession, right? To keep the profession clean and pure or whatever, and for the safety of the public. They were telling us that during the time I was studying for and taking the bar exam. So then I got to looking into the company that was trying to tell us that, NCBE. And y'all are not gonna be surprised, but you are gonna probably be aggravated and infuriated. So let me pull up what the NCBE website is. So this is what the website looks like, right? NCBE, National Conference of Bar Examiners. And see, look at all the things they have up for sale up here. Exams. Look at all the exams they administer. They administer the MPRE, which is the Professional Responsibility and Ethics Test, the UBE, which is the Universal Bar Exam, and then the MBE, the MEE, and the MPT are all parts of this UBE, right? But look, the NCBE, this company right here, they are responsible for writing and administering all of these tests. Okay. And most lawyers are going to take at least one of those tests. These that you're looking at, I think I took every single one. And every time I took one of those tests, I had to pay money, hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars. To prepare for the bar exam legitimately costs about $2,000 to $5,000. Just to prepare for the bar exam and to take the bar exam. Now, God forbid you fail, but we won't get into that. Look what else they have for sale up here. Study aids for all these different damn tests. Score services. So they will score your exams if you're a state that doesn't know how to do that. They also administer a character and fitness test, right? This random company, this random third-party company. And then they have some statistics, bar exam results by jurisdiction. That's what the website looks like. And as you can see, it's obviously some type of very big money-making regime, right? Well, just wait because you're going to see something very interesting in just a few minutes. So this is who I really want to take a good look at today. This is a public figure, Judith Gunderson. As you can see, as of August 2017, about 5 years ago, she was named president and CEO of the NCBE. Okay. Look what it says. The National Conference of Bar Examiners announced today that after a national search, Judith A. Gunderson will assume the role of NCBE president and CEO effective immediately. NCBE, as we've discussed, develops the licensing tests used by most states for the admission to the bar. NCBE stakeholders and constituents includes state Supreme Courts, state attorney licensing boards, attorneys, law school deans. NCBE is governed by a national board of trustees consisting of judges, bar examiners, and bar admission administrators. Approximately 74,000 law students or law school graduates sat for the bar exam in 2016. So if y'all remember how much it actually cost to prepare for these bar exams, it's a whole economy being supported on people taking bar exams. What is very interesting about Miss Judith Gunderson is she graduated from the University of Wisconsin Law School. And the state of Wisconsin has a particular regime in place called diploma privilege. Now, this is about to get very rich very fast. Let me show y'all what diploma privilege is. So I'm on the Wisconsin court system website, and as you can see, it's the page about how to get admitted to practice law in Wisconsin. And look down here, diploma privilege. Under diploma privilege, graduates of the University of Wisconsin Law School and Marquette University Law School are admitted to the practice of law by complying with the terms of this statute. Their school certifies their legal competence, and the Board of Bar Examiners certifies their character and fitness for the practice of law. So, in layman's terms, if you go to one of these two schools, University of Wisconsin or Marquette, and you want to practice law in the state of Wisconsin, then you do not have to sit for a bar exam. Okay. So let's put that back together with Miss Judith Gunderson. Where'd she go to law school? She went to the University of Wisconsin Law School. Would it come as a surprise to y'all to find out that this lady right here, Judith Gunderson, never not once in her life sat and took a bar exam? But during the time that people who had immune disorders and all kinds of things who were scared for their life to sit for a bar exam, this lady right here was saying that it was in the best interest of the public safety for us to have to sit for a bar exam. But her, the lady who's the president and the CEO of the company that administers the bar exam, the same company that tells us that we need a bar exam for the public safety, the president and CEO of the company that thinks that we should be forced to take the bar exam never sat for a bar exam. Did you know that? Does it come as a surprise to you? And this is more hypocrisy. This is more reasons why I cannot be a member of this profession like this. I cannot. It actually repulses me to think about holding myself to a different standard than I would hold other people to. It actually repulses me that people like this have the bold-faced, unmitigated gall and audacity to say that I and people like me who went to better law schools than her would be endangering the public to practice law. But this is the epitome of a gatekeeping mechanism that keeps people like me usually out of the profession. And now that I've really been inside the belly of the beast at the highest levels, I know for certain that that is what it is. Now, we're going to get into a whole other video about the racist, sexist origins and ableist origins of the bar exam. But I know that before I start saying words like that, I really need to come with the facts. And I'm going to show them all to y'all and leave it up to you to determine whether it's race based, sex based, disability based or not. But as far as this is concerned, this woman never sat for a bar exam, never passed one. She's even said as much in interviews before. Let me see if I can find y'all some receipts. Now, I do have some videos about this on my TikTok that I made very early on back in 2020. If you want to know more about like the details and the ins and outs, I was making videos about this on TikTok in 2020. But now, ever since this whole fiasco has happened, I'm really starting to take into account and to consider the things that I had already noticed as red flags about this profession along the way. Joe Patrice wrote this above the law article, and it says NCBE president gives train wreck of an interview. The plan for October bar exam is no plan at all. So it says NCBE president and CEO Judith Gunderson sat down for an interview with Karen Sloan from law.com and opened up about diploma privilege and where we go from here. So Karen Sloan asked her, she says, there's been a lot of criticism directed at the NCBE and you personally for how things are playing out this cycle, particularly that the NCBE is opposing the adoption of diploma privilege. Do you think that criticism is fair? So just to give y'all a short of it, diploma privilege would be you finished law school and graduated from an accredited ABA accredited law school and you did a character and fitness test, but you didn't actually sit for a bar exam. Now remember, most of us taking the bar exam will be taking a bar exam that was administered by NCBE, with the company Judith is the president and CEO of. And so the person doing the interview, Karen Sloan, said, do you think that's fair criticism that people are criticizing NCBE for opposing adoption of diploma privilege? And Judith says, there has been a lot of criticism leveled at NCBE and me, and it probably is part of the territory working at the organization that produces the bar exam. I think some of the anger and criticism about diploma privilege is misguided at NCBE. NCBE isn't making the decisions in any of these states as far as whether to proceed with the bar exam, when to do it, and whether to do it at all. That's a state by state decision, right? But the NCBE could easily have said, we're not going to make a bar exam because we don't think it's necessary this year. But why didn't they do that? I'm not even going to tell you why, because you know why. The NCBE has financial incentive to continue the bar exam administration and probably has contracts in place that they would have tried to enforce if states would have said, you know what, Judith, this year is not the year for our bar exam. You see what I'm saying? But here's her interview. Thank you, Joe. Joe, the author, says it's bizarre that Gunderson expects this level of naivete from an audience of attorneys and soon to be attorneys. Yeah, it is a state by state decision informed by a multi-million-dollar lobbying group that provides all the half-baked data that informs those decisions. The NCBE sits on well over $111 million in net assets and turns an additional $5 to $8 million in profit every year. They work very hard to assure states that the only defense against anarchy is keeping that gravy train going. Online exams themselves were a well-meaning effort when first proposed. The NCBE swiftly told states that they were doing a disservice to young attorneys for questioning in person exams in a pandemic, arguing that there would be no portable licenses without the NCBE's blessing. Thankfully, some states have dusted off some old books and realized that in the before time, long, long ago, states used to be capable of negotiating their own reciprocity deals. The NCBE was, apparently, according to Joe Patrice, trying to put themselves into a position to be like, well, we're not going to let your licenses be portable across states. And then states were kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. If you took the bar exam in Mississippi, you can come practice law in New Jersey or whatever, right? They were having these reciprocity agreements. Karen asks a great question. She says, does the NCBE have a conflict of interest on the diploma privilege issue, considering the whole purpose of the NCBE's organization is to create and perpetuate the bar exam? Should NCBE maybe stay out of the discussion? And so Judith goes, we're certainly not in the discussion right now. We put the white paper out to provide important background information. So the white paper described here was 8 pages of diploma privilege advocates eat babies rhetoric. There's a whole nother thing that she did that I'm just being reminded of as I'm doing this research. She basically threatened us for criticizing her. It's also been written about in Above the Law, another Joe Patrice article. This one was from August 6, 2020, and it says NCBE president issues threat to tie up licenses of bar exam critics. There's definitely a character and fitness to practice problem here, but it belongs to the NCBE, not the applicants. So it says, did the president of the NCBE really threaten to keep bar exam critics from getting licenses? Well, it depends. If you're the sort of person who thinks a mobster saying, nice little shop you have here, it'd be a shame if something happened to it, is just expressing well wishes on your business endeavors, then no. But if you're one of the people residing in a reality based society, then she absolutely did. NCBE honcho Judith Gunderson appeared on a panel at Miami Law's Power, Privilege, and Transformation Lessons from the Pandemic for Online Legal Education virtual conference yesterday. With the July in person bar exams that Gunderson continues to demand, marred by lapses in safety protocols and involving at least one positive case, Gunderson took the opportunity in this serious forum to threaten the people raising public health concerns. During the event, Gunderson said that she and other NCBE officials, quote, have been the subject of an extreme lack of civility and professionalism. In some cases, conduct that borders on harassment. Character and fitness issues are arising in the way examinees are communicating with board staff and board volunteers. Character and fitness, for those of you who don't speak lawyer, that means your character and fitness to practice the bar, they could keep you from being able to ever practice ever in your life, right? These are people who were literally like me. They had just graduated law school and they were asking questions that I'm now asking on this video. And the questions were valid, justified, rational, and reasonable. They were backed by logic. They were backed by sense, right? And here you have this bitch who I can now call a bitch because guess what, bitch? I'm not trying to be licensed under any fucking none of this bullshit. I want to say what I want to say. I'm here. I'm back. I'm here to say what I need to say. Okay, girl? Okay. Y'all aren't going to ever keep me down. So look what this bitch said. Character and fitness issues are arising in the way examinees are communicating with board staff and board volunteers. That means the NCBE. I agree with Joe. Harassing people is bad. Do not do that. But if you're giving this quote its most superficial read, then we have some bridges to sell you. We're talking about a lawyer here, and she's no less a lawyer because she never took a bar exam. So we need to parse these words very carefully. Gunderson does not say that anyone has been harassed. Quick to say it borders on harassment, which is the I can see Russia from my house of harassment allegations. Nor does she say that she's actually referred any violations to the character and fitness panel, opting instead to vaguely raise the prospect that anyone who might in the future choose to engage with the NCBE just might fall into that category and have their license tied up. So your best bet, she's conveying, is to not speak out at all. Lest you think I'm downplaying the seriousness of the risk of harassment, Gunderson included this example of the foul treatment here. So here, this Yale law practitioners, I think the account doesn't exist anymore, but it was a really good one. Look, this is the one that she cited. So Judith said this is bordering on harassment and it's bringing up character and fitness issues. And this is how they bully us our whole profession. Our whole profession, we're bullied like this. The whole entire time, we are bullied with the character and fitness. You can't say this on social media because character and fitness. You can't say that on your own free time because character and fitness. You can't be associated with this political party because of character and fitness. They bully you and they scare you with this fear-based mindset the whole time. Even before you ever sit for the bar exam, you're looking over your shoulder like, oh, I hope I don't have a speeding ticket. Like they really scare the ever living shit out of you. It's literally being indoctrinated into a cult. It truly is being indoctrinated into a cult. And it's fear based, right? So look, she uses this as an example. This is the one she chose. This is what the parody account said. We would hate to cause trouble, but the NCBE president, Judith Gunderson, is speaking at an online Zoom panel sponsored by U Miami at 3:30. It would be a shame if a bunch of diploma privileged kids registered and then roasted her during the Q&A. Not illegal, not harmful. If anything, it's just like maybe like you could say unprofessional or whatever, but like where's the character and fitness issue? There isn't one. And here's what Joe said, Joe Patrice 2 years ago. With all the time in the world to pick an example, this was the bad one she came up with. Joining a panel to ask her challenging questions, fire up the disciplinary complaints. But seriously, choosing to quote this tweet as an example of what she sees as bordering on harassment sends a pretty clear message to diploma privilege advocates. Pretty much everything is potentially a character and fitness issue in our eyes. And that was the messaging I got as someone who was actually an applicant during this time. This is a threat designed to chill speech. Agreed. My speech being chilled, a lot of y'all have said, spend some time thinking about it. And y'all, I do understand where you're coming from, but this is the type of bullying that I've been facing since before I was ever admitted to a bar. Before I ever put my hand on the Elwood's VHS, the Legally Blonde VHS, and said, I swear to uphold the Constitution, this is what I was dealing with. I was dealing with this the whole time. And look, the president of the NCBE says that she's been the subject of an extreme lack of civility and a lack of professionalism, and in some cases, conduct that borders on harassment. Character and fitness issues are arising in the way examinees are communicating with board staff and board volunteers. This is what she's talking about. It would be a shame if we all showed up and asked her questions, even roasted her. So if you roast someone, you don't have the character and fitness to be a lawyer. Well, that's irreconcilable with what I've seen with my own eyes. The people who I've seen lying under penalty of perjury, lying in writing to a court, I've seen people lie and win court cases. So if they can do that and their character and their fitness is good enough to be lawyers, it's irreconcilable to me that you can't tweet from who is Yale law practitioners. Obviously, this is a parody account. Who is this person? She don't even know. It is a threat designed to chill speech. It is so textbook, it could feature in an issue spotter if the NCBE were a government actor. Though with the sway the NCB holds over state governments, it is pretty close when it's issuing warnings about using the state regulatory process to penalize its critics. Whoo, Joe, I know you got a lot of credit for this when you wrote it, but I have to give you more credit today because truer words have not been spoken about this entire regime. The whole matrix. It's a bunch of people threatening you with the character and fitness because it's like once you violate the character and fitness of the bar examiners and of the state bar, whatever, once you violate that they can just decide you did, right? Like I said, I've seen people lie. I've seen people tell a lie straight to a judge's face. Nothing happened to them. I've seen lawyers participate in human trafficking. Nothing happened to them. But if you're going to criticize the bar exam, the president and the CEO of the nonprofit that administers the bar exam, then you don't have the ethics and the character to be a lawyer. And then for the rest of your life, you're considered unethical. I'm not standing idly by and letting these buffoons these incompetent creatures decide if I'm ethical. I know I'm ethical, and I know for a fact that threatening people in this way is not. So, why do I want to align myself with a profession who allows themselves to be bullied by people like the likes of Judith Gunderson, who, might I remind you all, never sat for a fucking bar exam. This bitch never sat for a bar exam, and here she is trying to say if you criticize the bar exam, then you might not get to practice law because of your character. Well, bitch, I got something to tell you then about your character, and I'll let y'all leave it below in the comments what y'all think. But again, don't nobody send hate. Don't nobody contact Judith. But we can have a robust, open discussion here on my page because I have nothing left to lose from these people. But to be honest, y'all, I never really did bite my tongue because I've been made videos about this. A threat made worse, Joe says, when you consider that in many jurisdictions, the NCBE is directly involved in the character and fitness process by preparing reports for the committees. It's certainly closer to bordering on a state actor than NCB critics are bordering on harassment. And Joe says here, policing civility is a well-worn trick of people with nothing substantive to say. It's amorphous standard of self-servingly defined by the supposed victim. For good measure, it's usually falsely tied to the concept of an ad hominem, the logical fallacy substituting personal attacks on the messenger with a substantive argument. The use and abuse of the concept of ad hominem has to stop. Saying we need diploma privilege because the NCBE clubs baby seals is an ad hominem attack. Saying we need diploma privilege because the greedy jackholes at the NCBE are risking public health despite a lack of evidence that the exam protects the public, that's just providing color. And here, finally, making fun of the fact that the country's primary mouthpiece against diploma privilege is a product of diploma privilege is the closest the discourse gets to an ad hominem attack. And even that is still entirely substantive because it directly challenges the credibility of many of her claims. So here is the article. This one's from April. This one's from April 2020. The nation's top defender of the bar exam knows exactly how to value diploma privilege systems. The National Conference of Bar Examiners recently wrote a report exhorting jurisdictions to reject any manifestation of diploma privilege admission and recognize that only an NCBE produced bar exam could guarantee attorney competency. Which state's bar exam did NCBE president and CEO Judith Gunderson take to become a licensed attorney? Hint, it's the same bar exam her predecessor, Erica Moser, took. Answer, none, because both are diploma privilege admits as graduates of the University of Wisconsin. But I guess what's good for the goose isn't necessarily good for the badger. Erica Moser, just so y'all know, is this lady. This is her. And from 1994 to 2017, Erica Moser, this lady, was in Judith Gunderson's spot as president and CEO of the National Council of Bar Examiners. But wouldn't you know that this lady also never sat for nor took a bar exam? So here you have people like Judith Gunderson and Erica Moser, who never took a bar exam, telling us to our face that if we don't take a bar exam, that we are somehow dangerous to society. We're a public safety concern. Y'all, this is like one of my first entrances into the upside down clown world of it all. How the goddamn on earth can Judith and Erica be not unsafe, right? And look, I don't really like to get into the law school rankings of it all. Suffice it to say that the law school I personally graduated from, and I was nowhere near the bottom of my class neither, okay? I wasn't like some last in the class bitch either, okay? I wasn't the valedictorian, don't get me wrong. Some classes actually made the best grade in the whole class. Suffice it to say, the law school, just based on statistics that I went to, far exceeds in rankings the law school that these people went to. But they're turning around and telling me that me just going to law school and passing a character and fitness exam isn't good enough. I have to sit for a bar exam. And these two people never sat for a bar exam. It doesn't make sense. And anybody who tried to push back on that actually was threatened with their character and fitness. And see, this is what you subject yourself to when you become a member of one of these organizations, because you are now allowing someone outside of your sovereign body to define whether you are ethical, whether you are fit to do something. For me, that's no different than building your house upon the sand. Because at any moment, these people who don't use logic, these people who are not living in a world where things make sense, are defining whether or not you are ethical. It doesn't make sense. And I refuse to allow someone like the likes of this woman or this woman to define if I'm ethical. If I'm criticizing something, it's unethical. But that's not what I learned in law school. I learned that we have the right and almost like the duty to criticize whenever we see tyranny, corruption, whenever we see these broken systems that don't make no damn sense. We're supposed to say something about it. And here you have people like the likes of Judith Gunderson threatening her critics. That's not what I want to be a part of. And I kind of thought, y'all, like, let me just get through this bar exam of it all. Let me get through and get into the profession. I'll be able to practice how I want. Nope. They got to keep doing this to me until they take my license. I know they are. I saw them do it to John Erdley. The people who don't keep their mouth shut and stay in line in the cult, we get kicked out. I know it's inevitable. I don't consent. I don't consent to these rules that don't make sense. I don't consent to the hypocrisy. And I damn sure don't consent to allowing people who are financially motivated and have financial conflicts of interest, who are hypocrites, to define if I'm ethical. You suck my.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
So one more thing I want to show y'all before I call this a day. This is the 990 from the 2020 or 2019. To reiterate, the NCBE that produces all those tests and makes all those tests and all that, they're registered as a nonprofit. A nonprofit. That's what they call themselves, a nonprofit. Okay. Let's look at their 990 form. Principal Agent Officer Judith Gunderson, ncbex.com. The National Conference of Bar Examiners develops various multi-state bar examinations and provides educational, investigative, and other services for various state bar examiners and other parties concerned with bar admissions. Look at their program service revenue alone, $22 million. Investment income, $14 million for this current year. Total revenue, $25 million prior year, $39 million current year. Y'all see, it's a nonprofit. This is what they're calling themselves, a nonprofit. So I want to get to see how much Judith actually makes, and then we can call it a day. Y'all can look this up. This is a public record. And I'm going to be making many, many more videos on topics such as this. All right, Judith Gunderson. Reportable compensation from the organization. Judith is making $335,968 a year. Other compensation, $32,000. So she's making about $350,000 a year. Now, right here, here's the other people. Oh, look, a Timmer. I wonder if Ann Scott Timmer is related to Stephen Timmer. That would just be shocking. I don't think. I have no evidence for that, just to let y'all know. Okay. So look, now we get down to these other people. Look how much they're making for the safety of the profession. Vicki Millard, she's making $171,000 plus 38. This must be their bonuses. She's making more than $200,000. We have this one over here, Mark Albanese, making about almost $300,000. We have Kelly Early, the chief strategy officer, making $230 something thousand. We have Kent Bry, director of IT, making a little over 200,000. Then we have some other people, Brad Gilbert. That's a familiar name. I'm gonna be looking at all this, but look, this is what they're able to pay all these people. They're calling themselves a nonprofit. Like, maybe they are, but to be honest, like, this doesn't seem like what nonprofits were created for. Got $19 million and, examination services. I don't know what the hell investigative services are, but they're spending like $5 million on that. Anyway, so Miss Judith, who never sat for a bar exam, never took a bar exam, never passed a bar exam, is telling us that it's for the safety of the profession that we have to sit for bar exams, even though we went to schools that statistically would yield higher achieving students than the one she went to. And again, if you graduated from the University of Wisconsin Law School, personally, I believe you did every bit of work as I did. I don't believe we should do this hierarchy ranking shit. But you start to see that sometimes in the law, that's what they do. And it's like, well, if you're going to do that in some places, then I'm going to use it to my benefit in the other places that you do it. Don't believe that anybody who graduated from an accredited law school needs anyone's permission to represent a client. I think if you do something wrong as a lawyer, you should be penalized or punished. You should face consequences that are appropriate with what you did wrong. But I don't think that some Judith Gunderson type should be able to delegate whether or not I am fit to practice law. If a client wants to hire me and wants me to represent them, that should be all she wrote on it. As long as someone has the education, I don't understand how these NCBEs and all these tests and shit work as anything else other than a gatekeeping device. I don't understand how Judith Gunderson never sat for a bar exam and got the job as the president and CEO of Bar Examiner. And not only that, the person who was in her position like for 20 years before her also never sat for a bar exam. So for like basically my whole life, the person sitting on top of the bar exam test writer company hasn't ever taken a bar exam. And for me, the only thing that that really does tell me is I'm right and you really don't need to pass a bar exam in order to be a good successful lawyer. And two, they're willing to laugh straight in our face and lie straight to our face because clearly Judith Gunderson doesn't actually believe in her heart of hearts that you have to pass a bar exam to be a good lawyer because she didn't apply that rule to herself. And then when people started criticizing her for it, she threatened them with character and fitness and harassment. And that's the thing that I'm not signing up for. That's the thing that I'm not about to be doing for the rest of my career. Facts ain't defamation. Love you, Mina K. Bye.